Hello everyone, this is the Nameless One, and tonight we will be continuing our Alicorn discusses topics with tonight's topic, MLP Friendship is Magic and the Brony Fandom. I have several guests here tonight. We're going to start our introductions here in a moment. Before that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, follow on Twitch, all that good stuff. If you want to know more ways how you can support the channel, then check out the links below, as well as the links for all of the guests. More how you can support at the end, of course. And then, before we get started as well, I'm going to let everybody know we're not going to have... We're going to be missing players that we need for Lost Memories tomorrow, so there will be no Lost Memories. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and jump into it with the introductions. So when I call on you, who you are, what you do, how long you've been in the fandom, and I think that'll be it for the intros. Wastelander, you get to go first.
Yay, me. Well, good afternoon or morning or evening, everybody. I am the Equestrian Wastelander. I have been in the fandom since late 2011, so really old. Occupation is I currently serve in the military. Currently stationed overseas in Poland right now, so yay, there's always that. And for just a slight little background to the topic, I've been working for and with conventions for over a decade, and the number is over 80 now for attendance, over 80 plus conventions, and then just like staffing, volunteering for a bunch of them. So I've seen the fandom in many ways.
I'm just going to say that I kind of meant what you do in the fandom, not IRL. But okay. I'm a bully Saf next.
Alright, hi, I'm Sapphire Sistrine, and I'm currently dying of allergies, so forgive me. I do music and... What else do I do? I do music and writing and animation. I do a lot of stuff. I run a video game company. Really is the main thing. Is that all we were supposed to say? I don't remember.
When did you start in the fandom?
Oh, okay. I started watching the show back in 2011, and I started coming to the fandom in 2015. Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
Okay. Venture.
Hello, my name is Venture Corp. I'm a writer in the fandom. I'm in the fandom for since 2021, and even though I don't think I'm as experienced as the rest of the people here, I've known of the Brody fandom since about 2011, which I joined earlier, but better late than never. And I'm aware of some of the stuff that they've been up to since FiM first started.
And BlueBolt.
Good evening. My name is BlueBolt. I mostly do YouTube video stuff. Also run kind of a, meme page, I guess you could call it, on Instagram. I've been in the fandom a little over, I guess it's about 3 years now, since 2021. So still kind of a newbie at everything, but I'm happy to be here. So.
Okay, and everybody should know me by now. I'm the Nameless One. I've been doing writing, YouTube, streaming, all that good stuff since I joined the fandom back in about 2019, 2020. Roughly around that area. Now, let's head... So, this one was a little more difficult to come up with direct questions about. So, we're just going to kind of dive into, the shaping of the fandom from FiM, and then work from there to how the fandom has also directly influenced the show as well. So, does anybody... I know Saf has something to lead us off with, because he has been trying to divulge all of his knowledge before the podcast, so he forgot what he was here to talk about.
Huh. Okay.
Release the floodgates.
So, what you got for us, Saf?
Okay, so I guess just some general background. The Brony fandom really had multiple places where it kind of popped up because the new series My Little Pony Friendship is Magic popping up was a big deal because before that Hasbro really didn't like the last time Hasbro did stuff with ponies was what 2003 or somewhere around there. I might be wrong on that. Cupute will correct me later. But it was quite a while. And there was a lot of speculation on how good or bad it would or wouldn't be. Because the previous My Little Pony stuff, especially the newborn cutie stuff, was just awful. And so there were lots of people who were interested in it, both from just a general cartoon side, like the people on the comics and cartoons board on 4chan, and just in the MLP fandom side in MLP forums. Now I don't know much about the MLP forum side, but I do know about the history on the 4chan side, which is really where the fandom as it is now got its start. That's where the first terms of using the word Brony came around. That's where a lot of the first memes came around, like the "confound these ponies, they drive me to drink" meme, or the "haters gonna hate" memes. And it's even where things like the site Equestrian Daily came from, and Pony-chan, and a lot of the a lot of stuff, bro. A lot of stuff. And really, the main reason why it even popped up was because it was such a quality shift with the cartoons that were out at the time, especially that it was using Flash. It was such a quality shift from what existed at the time. And in fact, one of the first comments on the thread when the episode finally released on October 10th was, "I actually kind of like this. Don't really care what's going on, but it had decently timed gags, fluid motion, and voice acting that doesn't make me cringe. I'm scared, Cole. Hold me," And that was the sentiment of a lot of people, that it was well written, looked really nice, animated really well, sounded really good. It was just really well done for a cartoon at that time, and even in nowadays standards, especially compared to the older My Little Pony series. And so it really popped off because of that. And very early on, the interactions between show staff and fandom started, like within days of it being released. But I'll talk about that later. So that's kind of the beginnings. I don't know if that's what you wanted to hear.
If I remember correctly, it was shortly after that the fandom also started gaining a lot of traction when they started seeing more and more people flocking to the decent quality of the show. And then, based off of what little research I've done on it into the early days of the fandom, it was soon considered counterculture because news outlets started calling out the people flocking to the show.
Oh, that was way after it. I mean, it was already counterculture because even in the co-threads that were happening of people realizing that this is a good show and that they like it, there was lots of conflict, even to the point where eventually any mention of My Little Pony or any posting of pony stuff got completely banned from 4chan, and they really didn't like it. And that sentiment was kind of all over the internet and just in culture anyways, because, oh my gosh, it's a bunch of grown men in their basements liking a show for little girls, right? Except that's not how it is, at least not that simple. But that's been a thing for a while. It's only really been within the last couple of, it's only really been within like the last 5 years or even less, where like being a brony is like kind of normalized because fandoms are normalized nowadays with the proliferation of the internet. But back when it started, it was weird, and it was very much hated on, especially with how annoying pony posters were too. But yeah, it was certainly counterculture.
The Brony fandom tripped so other fandoms could walk.
Yeah.
I would say it was the first one. I mean, considering how small the furry one started out and the Trekkie started out,
Well,
they had the same similar problems.
I'm talking more along the lines of the existence of fandoms for like Star vs. Forces of Evil, Owl House. What was that one show? Steven Universe.
That's a big
Steven
one.
Universe was popular big time.
I don't doubt that like those fandoms. I don't doubt that like there would be a lot more conflict in internet culture with people who like those things and are fans of those things if it weren't for the Brony fandom having had a massive internet presence and like from about 2012 to 2015 or 2017. It's really when its peak was.
Which I believe that the massive internet presence is also like what garnered a lot of attention for the Brony fandom and why we are one of two fandoms that I know of that have regular and multiple conventions all across the globe.
Mm-hmm. What would the other one be?
The furry fandom.
Oh, that's true.
Of course.
And unfortunately, can't really say the anime fandom. Say again.
I say for the furry one, they had a different kind of startup. It was a lot like without going too much into like detail and history. They started out a lot smaller, around the similar time as the Trekkies, but they started out a lot smaller. It went from like little meetings, and eventually conventions came around a year or two later, or a couple. I think it was a couple of years, but yeah, they started a lot smaller, and without the internet, so it was more of just like a hand group of people. And then over time, through art and sharing commissions and stuff and ideas like that, went a lot bigger. And depending on the members' influences at the time, because you had like animators and Disney or animators and other shows that met together, so it just got a little different. But yeah, like the other thing that kind of helped us along and not helped us at the same time for the Bronies was I want to say we were treated similarly to how D&D was first introduced into the world. Where, especially along the Bible Belt, we were we were hated, and we were considered.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. The negative attention we received actually ended up helping us, not individually, but as the whole. We kind of stood a lot stronger against all the negativity, and it eventually turned into our favor.
It actually was what attracted a large section of what people would consider like the golden age of the fandom. Like they initially started. It was a thing on the internet where you ironically watch pony stuff and then end up unironically part of the fandom.
Yep.
I actually have several friends out. That's how they joined the fandom. It's like they were like, "Oh, let's watch this kid's show. It's going to be terrible, but we can ironically watch it so that we can hate on it." And then they're like, "Oh, this is actually good. Oh shit, I'm a Brony."
Yeah, that's the story of like a lot of people that I've met in the fandom, and kind of including myself. But yeah. And also just like the whole, especially with the internet culture, the posting of pony memes everywhere. Because let's remind ourselves that back in 2010, things like Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and whatnot were not as huge as they are nowadays. 4chan was still one of the biggest social media sites on the internet at the time, and it was a like with the amount of pony memes being posted in Co and B, the random board, it really attracted the attention of why are people posting about pony stuff? Like, what is this thing that I keep seeing? And they go look at it and they're like, oh, I like this too. Or they're like, oh, that's like gay, and stupid, but oops, they end up becoming a brony. So yeah, that's really the origins. It's just a lot of conflict.
So, since we kind of discussed the origins of the fandom, the fandom has also had a pretty big influence on the show as well. One of the biggest examples I can think of is the fact that Derpy was actually brought back into the show after her inclusion in that one episode where she's jumping up and down on the cloud. I just don't know what went wrong.
Just don't know what went wrong.
Derpy is adorable.
Aw.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Rainbow Dash?
No, nothing.
The when that episode first aired, my understanding, based off of like the research I did, there were people having meltdowns outside of the fandom because of the way that Derpy was depicted, which meant that Hasbro was going to remove Derpy and has removed Derpy from, or at least that version of Derpy and the voice acting done for her from many versions of the uploads of the show. And there was a massive campaign that happened to also try to stop that.
Yeah, the Save Derpy campaign.
Which
Eventually led to the name Bubbles, but
I just don't think, like, she's been credited as Muffins, but like I don't.
Muffins, Derpy
I
Hooves,
still think
Ditsy
of her as
Doo.
Derpy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's. Do you even know the origins of Derpy though?
Do you?
Wasn't it just an animation mistake originally?
First of all, I don't think it was a mistake. Because if you look at it, it's actually during the party scene. She's in one of the backgrounds. During the party scene in the very first episode. And like there are other shots where she as a background character shows up, but her eyes are completely fine. But in one shot, her eyes are derped, and I think she has a scrunchy muzzle, but I don't remember. And they go over several passes of that stuff. They knew what they were doing. And
I'm just gonna point out, if you watch Little Shy's stuff about the animation mistakes, they do several passes, yeah, sure, but like there's still lots of mistakes.
True, and I'll grant you that. But they really latched onto the character and started like kind of giving her a personality within the fandom, kind of like we do with Lyra and Bon and gosh, what are other fandom characters that got a lot of personality put on them? There's Lyra and Bon and Button Mash. Well, Button Mash never.
Dr. Hoob's got a bit.
Dr. Hoob's,
there were some failed attempts as well.
Button Mash is, to my understanding, entirely a fandom character created by Jan Animation.
No, Button Mash.
He was in the show.
He was actually in the show. It was when Sweetie. It was when they were singing that that Perfect Stallion song for Hearts and Hooves Day.
Oh God, that song.
Yeah. Sweetie Belle says this one's too young and points to a little colt with the hat playing a video game. But Derpy was really influenced by the fandom. When Derpy finally spoke and was acting Derpy, that was a really big deal that she was doing that, because that meant that the creators of the show were actually listening to the fans at the time, which I do have some evidence that is the case if you want me to read it to you. But yeah.
Well, think we're going to move to talking to some of the more well-known fan-influenced episodes.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's two in particular. And it kind of... One of them shows how the show writers thought of us, and the other shows how corporate Hasbro thought of us. Because you
I
can...
think I know which is which.
Uh-huh.
With the 100th episode, it was a love letter to the fandom, and you could tell, especially if you knew much about the fandom at the time. And really adorable episode. Lots of different background character and character development that you didn't see before. The secret agent Bonbon thing was hilarious. But then there was the much more, I'd like to say infamous, but I don't know particularly how well it was received, other than like a couple of analysis YouTubers that did exactly the thing that they were trying to tell everybody to stop doing. Where it was basically, please don't criticize us.
You talk about Fame and Misfortune?
The one with We're Not Flawless at the end?
Fame and Misfortune, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Fun fact about that, at least if I remember correctly, I'm probably wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that was one that Larson really didn't want to write.
Oh yeah, I saw that as well. Based off of what I saw, he not only didn't want to write it, it's his least favorite episode, and if it had been up to him, it would have been another episode 100. Like, it would have been one of those types of episodes where it's like a love letter to the fandom, because the writers, the voice actors, the people actually making the show actually really enjoyed the fandom, with a few exceptions, which I feel like we should talk about that. One of those major exceptions. I believe it's known as DashCon. There was also like one in Vegas, I believe.
Oh yes, that was Las Pegasus Unicon. Yeah, that one. Tara Strong got served food that she was allergic to, and Nicole Oliver was forgotten at the airport.
The voice actor
Was that the one
for
where like
what's up?
stole all their money or something?
Oh yeah,
The management behind it.
Yeah, they made off with everybody's money, and the fandom basically had to crowdfund getting a whole lot of people back, including the voice actor for Discord. And my understanding is he's not gone to he hasn't gone to one since.
Same
Talk
with Tara.
about, his name John Delancey.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which sucks because he's a great voice actor.
It does, and he is. But
Yeah, 'cause I think I see him go to like Comic-Con still, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, he does go to those.
he also has other voice acting parts that he's had.
Right.
Yeah, Las Pegasus ruined it for a lot of us. They did a lot of things wrong.
They did.
It's infamous enough that if you look it up on YouTube, there's like a dozen documentaries all talking about how bad it was. And including people that weren't even in the fandom.
It's the Fire Festival for bronies.
Yeah, considering how like what was it, Furfest or something like that? Or there was
Midwest
another
Furfest.
one.
Oh god,
Yeah.
that's another
Rain
one.
Furfest. Yeah, Rain Furfest, DashCon, Fire Festival. They all were pretty bad, but considering the amount of damage that Las Pegasus did, it kind of out trumps them. But it was
Well, with the Midwest Furfest and Rainfirst is the one you were trying to reference. Both of those were bad for different reasons. It wasn't the con management that was the problem, based off of what I saw. It was people leaving things like used diapers on cars and just generally destroying things.
Ew.
yeah, that was a community screw up.
Yeah. The Las Vegas Unicon one was an entirely it was a rug pull scam from the get-go. So it ended up not only scaring off several important voice actors from ever going to a con in the Brony fandom again, but also there was a lot of people that didn't want to be a part of it either. Which I will note that afterwards, fan people banded together to help those who needed it, and do their best to make sure that the voice actors at least got home okay. Most of those voice actors were supposed to have been paid. I don't know if any of them actually did get paid.
No, but what I'm tracking, none of them got paid.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's awful.
Yeah, that's really bad.
I've also noticed that shifting away from the whole Las Vegas thing, and BlueBolt may actually have a little more to say to this one. The fandom has also had, with its YouTube presence, has had more influence over the show than most people would generally give us credit for.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting topic for sure because when I first started doing the videos, I mean, I've only been doing them for, what's June now? It's a little over 5 months, but it's very interesting to see, I guess, YouTubers, MLP YouTubers now, opposed to what they used to be, and coming into the fandom much later, of how that influences, I guess, certain people and how they look at it. Because I mean, I've talked to a few people that have gotten into the show just from watching MLP YouTubers, breaking down and analyzing, the show and whatnot. And it's just interesting to see how much impact that can have on the community now, of just having, analysis videos and, vlogs of conventions, just to see the fandom in a different outlook that some people may not have seen otherwise. I don't know if that I'm really making sense. I'm just trying to get my thoughts out there, but
No, it makes sense.
It's just very different outlook, I guess you could say, of how it was 10 years ago at its prime versus almost 5 years after the show has ended. And to see so much more, creativity still being put into the fandom, whether that be with, videos and music, writing, etc. Just how much the fandom, still thrives after all these years.
The early fandom was also pretty well known for some of its influence leaking through to the show, which is it's kind of somewhat theorized that a portion of Fame and Misfortune was a direct dig at the analysis community for MLP, because you had some of the famous ones started popping up around the time that episode aired, or had been well established by then.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Yeah.
I really felt like it was, because the fandom, one of the joys in the fandom is analyzing the show and analyzing the characters. Though it is worth noting that there's the analysis side of the lore and where does Princess Celestia come from, and then there's the critic side.
That's what we call the theorist side.
Okay,
the analysis side is the ones say Josh Scorcher, where they go used to go episode by episode and analyze each and every individual episode, trying to point out flaws and good parts and things like that.
Okay, thank you for correcting that, because I always just saw the analyst side as just the general theorists and YouTube bros. So thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, no, the analysis community was a little more specific than that. There's actually a subset of that is even more well known for their influence, where it's like the Rift Cafe and Secret Cafe groups. They were the what I call the old guard, and they were the ones that were some of the most well-known analysis ponies and PNG tubers and whatnot. That were spreading their opinions of the show online, and they would also do some of the fandom stuff. There were several that did episodes of Friendship is Witchcraft, I believe, as well as some of the fan-made episodes like Double Rain Boom, and there was one that was I forget the name of the episode, but good God, it was awful.
Not the what is it?
It's something like Evergreen, I think.
Okay. Not Dusk's Dawn, right?
I don't even know if I've heard of that one.
Good. Okay.
I don't think it was that one though.
But yeah, that community, because it's essentially a sub community of our community. That community got really big off of their analysis, and a lot of people took their any theorist or analysis video that if it gets popular, people will either take offense to what you said or take it to heart to the point of militant attempts to say that this person was right.
I remember those days, yeah.
Well, you've got people like that in almost every fandom.
In those days, there are still people that are like that.
No, I mean those days when I was in that, because I don't care anymore because it's a good show. I have my own opinions now. I'm not 15 anymore.
I'm 15 and this is deep.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah,
You're still cringe, you're just more experienced.
I kind of wonder if one of the and this is just kind of social theorizing here. I kind of wonder if the reason why those types of people were popular back then and are still popular nowadays is because is it because really people just needed validation that they like this show enough to be thinking this deep about it, and
well, I would
because I mean, the feeling of being ostracized and alone is definitely a big thing prevalent in this fandom because of how ostracized people are in the IRL world. So.
I would actually say that based off of what I'm seeing, looking around the fandom nowadays, there's a lot less popularity for people that still do the same old song and dance with the analysis and theories. And that it's more there are people that want to talk about their theories, but it seems to be more that people are starting to prefer to put their own theories and ideas together, and they'd rather see their own stuff put out there, which is why you're starting to see more people pop up that do it on their own rather than having people who are just oh, this person has had this idea that I agree with. It's more of, well, I like this idea better, and nobody else is saying it, or nobody's saying it the way that I say it, so I'm going to say it myself.
I think that part of that, honestly, and I'm not saying this to diss on G5, but I think G5, because of the flaws that it had, there were a lot of people who were writing alternative stuff correcting a lot of those flaws, and because they really wanted it to work, they were coming up with those ideas on their own, whereas FiM was the world and the characters were so nice that they were writing their stuff on their own, and they were good enough, and so the small critiques were really the only critiques that they had.
I'm also going, this is a slight aside, but EG brought this up in the audience. I'm just going to address it a little. The pony tubers that were doing a lot of the analysis and criticism of the show also were very bad at handling criticism themselves. and this is something that you saw quite a bit throughout the analysis community that I find kind of ironic. But I think as to the growth of the amount of people doing their own thing rather than following just the larger existing analysis community is also the growth of the internet. It's so much easier now to just download a bunch of software, hook up a shitty mic, and start recording your own stuff and posting it to YouTube. And it doesn't seem as unapproachable as it did back when the fandom first started.
I do absolutely agree with that because, my gosh, as a 3D artist, back in the day of like the fandom before SFM ponies were introduced, I mean, talk about a nightmare with even imagining anything 3D with pony back then. And now, y'all may not see it, but I'm in the circles that, I mean, you've got a lot of people making their own 3D pony models just because Blender is so open and free and has 10 bajillion tutorials out there on YouTube. It didn't used to be that way.
To my understanding, it's also much more easy to access because of the fact that it's free, open source, and it also is actually a good tool and not just kind of rolling garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like for myself, and I'd imagine for BlueBolt as well, YouTube was not that hard to start. Now, to gain traction may have been difficult, but to start, it wasn't that bad. You just need some very basic equipment and software. Would you agree,
Yeah,
Blue?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I record still like majority of my videos like when I'm actually in camera, like on my phone. And like the editing, I use like super basic editing.
Windows
It's like
Movie Maker, let's go.
like the most basic stuff. Like to start out, like you really don't need like this, fancy equipment. Like you really don't. And yeah, like what you said, getting traction is the most difficult part. I would say absolutely. But I mean, starting out is just getting the most like motivation and commitment to actually do it. For
Yeah.
me, that was just one boring Saturday I was having. I'm like, well, I guess I'll make some videos. I have nothing else to do. So it's kind of how I started. But yeah, I mean, because there's so many, especially now, of specific niches and whatnot to actually get traction. That seems to be the biggest issue for a lot of people. They seem to have now, I would say.
I would also say that to some extent it has led to a bit of an oversaturation amongst creators where we're all fighting for the same group of like a couple thousand people.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Sort of, although I think some people are interested in completely different things than others. And
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true too.
I agree with that, but I also want to note that the algorithms for social media have very much changed. Like it used to be, um, I remember the days when I started looking at pony stuff and like fandom stuff, and even with just having watched a few fandom videos that got recommended to me, my recommendations were flooded with all types of fandom stuff from everywhere, both old and new at the time. And nowadays, if you look at fandom stuff, most of the time in your recommended, you're still just going to get random bullcrap and official My Little Pony stuff. Like and you either, at least this is what I've kind of figured out, you either have to, if you want to get your stuff seen, you either have to have the algorithm see you, or you have to have someone else share it.
Yeah.
Like there's this is just, it's not very ideal. And because we're also in more closed off communities too, like on Discord instead of like on 4chan, right? Or on the any types of forum based things that are much more open. and anyone could just kind of browse and see, oh, so and so posted this, right? You know, it is a lot more. Everything is really much more fractured on the internet right now in terms of personal interaction than it used to be. Things used to be a lot more
fractured / closed.
Yes,
You know, kind of
things
in
used
our
to be a
own
lot
little,
more open.
we're in our own little worlds now.
Yep.
With Discord came the advent of things like Patreon servers, where it's like super exclusive, and you have to pay to get in, and in some cases they will boot you out if you're not paying anymore.
Yeah, and it's personally, I've actually, if you don't mind me going on a very minor tangent, having been in the 4chan scene, people on /MLP really do genuinely believe that this fandom is dying. Because, like I said, it is so difficult to see. You have to go out of your way looking up Brony stuff, watching Brony stuff, not just My Little Pony stuff in general, because then you're just going to be recommended official Hasbro crap, but like Brony stuff. And like what Compute will do is, I mean, she'll enter very specific search stuff and look at like the last week of pony stuff uploaded and try and find small creators. You have to put in a lot of work to actually find new creators nowadays. And it does make it seem like the fandom is dying, but it's not. It's just very fractured.
It's not dying, we're just getting buried alive by algorithms.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like, so I'd made Daily Dose of Pony to solve that problem, and then I got absolutely overwhelmed with the amount of content that gets made in just a week. There's so much pony content, new pony content, that not just like garbage edits of, you know, screen caps, right? But like genuinely good stuff that gets made every week. It is ginormously overwhelming.
Yeah, and I've seen just a fraction of what like that looks like, and I do agree. It's definitely like, and I've noticed as well from the outsider perspective the what looks like the death of the fandom and why people are so confused about it. You know, you have things like BabsCon closing due to the loss of the contract for where they are currently being hosted, and my understanding as well, poor management.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, because HarmonyCon's thriving over here. You got Mare Fair that's thriving now. Like,
BFNW.
why is BabsCon? Yeah, why? Yeah, exactly. Why is BabsCon dying? Probably mismanagement, because this fandom sure ain't dying.
Yeah. And
yeah,
even,
they still have the
Go ahead.
ones overseas going as well.
Oh yeah, the ones overseas, from my understanding, are bigger than they have ever been.
Oh, Galicon, from like the videos I've seen, I finally get to see one in person, but Galicon is the foremost, one of the biggest conventions across, and I would say over the world, and what they do. Then you got like ones like Equestria, UK PonyCon, there's the one in Holland. I can't remember the name of it right now, but they had a few others as well. Eponafest in Italy, but like they're starting to gain a lot more. They keep their traction, they keep it going. But another thing is like back to what you were saying earlier about the content. Like if you go like Equestria Daily or other places to find art, you'll see that art's coming out every single day, especially on Facebook and commission groups, but also FiM fiction for fanfics. They just
Absolutely.
We'll get to FiM fiction in a moment. Is the problem though is that if you've ever had the opportunity to try and submit something to Equestria Daily, they're kind of exclusive. There's groups of people that they prefer.
They are very, very exclusive, yes.
So
yeah, it is weird, especially considering that Fall Equestria was submitted to them and they were fine with it. But if you try to submit another Fall Equestria side story, they're like, "Yeah, this doesn't exactly fit our things." I'm like, "But the original, really?"
It's just they don't want to actually read it. Like
They don't.
my understanding, the whole thing with that, like, they don't really want to do the things that they need to do in order to actually be what they try to be, which leads to a lot of exclusiveness, a lot of like excluding of new content. They go with the ones that they know about that are pretty safe to deal with. So it ends up leading to a lot of new creators kind of getting just run over by like the ones that are already established, the ones everybody knows the names of. But honestly, they kind of at this point have been doing a kind of a disservice to the vast majority of newer creators.
They have. I completely agree, man. I remember like even like seeing that back in 2017 when I was starting out like my content creation in the fandom. Getting on Equestria Daily was a big thing because it was so exclusive. Only the popular people got on there, and it makes sense because I mean the whole point of the site is to make money from site clicks and ads and whatnot, and you know they just we could complain about Equestria Daily all day.
We could. I feel like that could be a topic in of itself.
I will be honest, there was a time when I actually did browse Equestria daily and actually found new stuff every day from them that was actually something I wanted to see, and nowadays they just post stupid updates and draw threads. Like, I mean, you can go to Derpy Brew's main page and find the new art every day. Like, come on. In fact, I was looking at the site statistics here. There were about 560 images uploaded in the last 24 hours to Derpy Brew, which is a lot, and it's pretty consistent with the amount over the site's lifetime. It's pretty darn steady.
Moving on a little bit, even though the show has ended, because you know one of the main things that I hear the fandom is dead. The fandom is dead. That's because the show's over, right? And you know nobody really like. You've got the people that are okay with, and a few that are huge fans of the new generation, but it's starting to evolve past the show. You've got projects like, for example, I'm helping out with a project that is a extension of like a new story to what the author is considering a Generation 6. There's other projects doing similar things. There's rewrite projects of like they're doing what should have been done rather than what they ended up doing with G5. So
absolutely,
at this point, our fandom is also starting to evolve past the need for the show.
Yes, which I'm actually very happy for because, like, just the way that this fandom is going to survive is if it learns how to become self-sufficient, you know, and making its own
that's
content.
that's definitely a good thing. We don't need Hasbro to survive.
Yeah, get out of here, you know. And
I mean,
I'm waiting. You know, I'm calling it. Like about, I'm gonna give it another 10 years ish, and we're gonna have multiple pony shows that Hasbro can't take down because it's not similar enough, but it's still good stuff that's fun to watch. That was inspired by MLP. It's gonna happen, bro.
I also want to point out that. Go ahead. You go first, Wastelander.
I was gonna say, yeah, it kind of goes into like while people are saying the fandom is dead or you know it's dying, it's not necessarily dead or dying as we've all witnessed or seen. It's just not as spiking in growth as it did when it first started. Because with the show and breaking the norms and a lot of boundaries, it gained a lot of traction and gained a lot of followers over time. And when it ended, people were just like, "Oh well, that's it. That's the end of the show, folks. Time to move on." Whereas no, or the other group is like, well, we'll wait to the next generation. Maybe that'll be better. Groups like that. But as you've seen, we have all these incredible creators, artists, video makers, fanfic writers. We have what was it? I'm trying to remember.
Game devs. We've got
content
plushie
creators.
makers. We've got thousands of different creators and creator types, all working towards the same goal.
Yeah, and they came about starting from the fandom, but over time, their skills have just excelled, and now they want to keep going or expand their horizons. So it never died; it just kind of branched off in a sense, but it's still going strong. It's just not as widespread, I would say, as it used to be, or not as spiking in growth. So we're gradually keeping up. Because
we're not
was a great example.
We're not really in the media like we used to be. We're not forefront of fandoms.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I don't think we'll get the same media attention that we once did, because that did happen a lot in the beginning of the fandom.
It's because we were a social phenomenon.
Yeah, and I agree with the sentiment, because I really do think it's both the fracturing, and it's just like you really just don't see it as much anymore. You don't see the phenomenon happening, right? And I think we could also be biased because, like, back in the day, like I said, you looking at pony stuff, it's really popular. It'll be because it was a thing at the time. It was showing up in recommendeds and all that, and you'd see people posting about it all the time. But like nowadays, everything is so curated, right, to your personal thing that you don't know if this is like even real or not. But hold on. But like, I have actually seen a fat influx of new bronies. I'm gonna point to a bunch of people here. Y'all just joined, and like the last 2 to 5 years, I've been here over 10 years watching this show, and y'all are like babies to me. But like, there's people even younger that have only been in the fandom for a couple of months, and they're creating content and stuff like that. It's just you got to look in the right places, like Star Strike server.
Out of Silver Screen, we get to bug them all the time about it.
There's also the fact that with things like, so there's still parts of the internet that are considered like the Wild West of the internet. VR chat is an example of that, and furries are just everywhere. Like, I'm not even like, there's the anime style avatars and worlds and things like that you'll see like prevalent just because it's easy to animate and stuff like that, and you can find cheap models that you can get a hold of, sometimes even free. But like, next to that, the furry presence on that section of the internet is enormous, but ponies are few and far between.
You want to know why?
And why is that?
Because that shit's hard to model. It is genuinely very difficult to model a good-looking pony model, B, a functional pony model, and C, actually have it walk around like a quadruped. Like, you're not a quadruped.
You need all those three things, or else you're gonna end up with a Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the pony-ish avatars in there, and usually they're like the SFM models. I will say you're probably going to see an influx of it, because we're kind of in this age where pony models are being worked on way more than they used to. It used to be the SFM models and DJ Thed stuff were like the only things. But I think we actually
have the G5 movie to thank for that, because everybody was like looking at them, and then
no, maybe I'm saying that because I've like, for my video game, I had to look for 3D modelers, and there used to not be very many at all, and now there are a lot more. But that amount increased before the G5 movie. It has definitely increased after, but it started to increase before the G5 movie, and I think that's partially just because people like who saw the show, like say my age I was like 12 12 to 15 was when I was really like falling in love with the show. Now I'm finally old enough to start really like using Blender, and Blender finally became usable within the last 5 years. Using Blender and learning how to make all that stuff and devote the time to it. And same thing with a lot of other people, because otherwise you used to have a college degree to do that, and nowadays you don't. But that's only been the case within the last 5 years, 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
A good example would be like Argo Demon. They, when it comes to like 3D modeling, they pretty much stood at the forefront. Unless there was other artists I may have accidentally overlooked, but
Argo Damon
Argo
did 3D
Damon.
modeling. I thought he did animation.
I thought no, he did. He did.
DJ
3D
Fed
modeling.
is the one that I know for like well-known 3D modelers. He's the one that did like there was like a Pinky animation, but after the there was like a YouTube short animated series that Hasbro did, and Pinky was a fucking nightmare fuel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he did a Pinky animation where it was just Pinky going, "That's me," and it was like so much better quality. DJ Fed honestly does some pretty amazing stuff.
He does. He really does. And I think it goes back to, like I said, like the people who were doing that in the early fandom were people who had access to the software and the training to do that type of stuff, or they had access to the software and they trained themselves. And like, so it. But nowadays, an amateur can do it.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot more of it. Like Macario. Macario does all of his stuff in Blender, last time I checked. He would not have been able to do that. First of all, he wouldn't have been able to do it because he ripped all the stuff from the game. But he certainly would not have been able to do that because do the animation and the learning Blender and all that stuff, because Blender even 5 years ago was hot garbage. So,
not to mention that like the advances in both software and hardware as well have
absolutely
very much made things like that much more accessible.
Oh yeah.
So
I feel like we're gonna definitely see we already are seeing an increase in pony content and higher quality pony content.
I've also noticed that websites like FiM Fiction, while they aren't, from what I can tell, they aren't necessarily growing. There's more people that have started writing than there was previously.
Yeah, FiM Fiction had a lot more accessibility and a lot more allowance for stories and fanfics than Equestria Daily did. So it had a lot more. And so I would say FiM Fiction is like one of the top websites for finding any fanfics within the fandom, regardless of genre or maturity levels. You could find it there.
And I also believe that one thing that is also helping a little bit, at least, is that there's been a number of different large creators, both on YouTube and on like other platforms, that have decided to step down for whatever reason from what they're doing, and suddenly opens up audiences looking for their content, but from other people. That has also been helpful to those people whose content they end up finding. Because don't get me wrong, you get the ones that are like, "Oh, my favorite content creator is no longer doing Brony content, and or has had problem happen and is no longer doing Brony content. I'm just not going to look for Brony content." But you also have the ones that are just like insanely like, "I need more of this content," and digging for creators where they find people like me or BlueBolt.
Horse addiction.
I mean, that's what it was for me when I joined this fandom. The horse addiction part, not the other parts.
BlueBolt.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything you want to weigh in? You've been quiet over there.
Sorry, I've been just like chugging water. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that I'm trying to say. I guess like the larger creators, obviously people will flock to more, but sometimes they want to see, a different perspective, or they want to see, the same content, but in a similar. What are the words I'm looking for? I'm trying to explain this. Just a different way of seeing like the same content. I've noticed that a lot lately of seeing similar topics between different creators, and some enjoy that topic more than another YouTuber, and I guess it just comes down to how they discuss it, of course how their video turns out, but it can be sometimes difficult to see the smaller creators and what they are doing because of the larger creators that are still around, and sometimes that can be a little difficult to take in and get your work out there. But at the same time, once you find like your small niche that watch your content regularly, it's a great feeling. It is.
Yeah, I've also noticed that some of the older content creators that were only doing one thing, the ones that are actually still thriving, are branching out a bit, unless it's like a musician, which musicians, even them, are starting to branch out a bit more. Because if you notice from like
Right.
Prince Whatever, he's been doing a lot more covers of different songs and things like that. Silverquill's got some other stuff that I've seen him doing. Windstriker is a Brony YouTuber that I'm personally friends with. He actually shows up on Heart of Darkness as one of the players for that. He's looking into doing more like generalized show content, not just MLP, but also other animated shows.
Right.
Regarding musicians, that's an interesting topic regarding musicians in the fandom. As you said, they've been branching out. Because we started out like with huge names that weren't very huge back in the time, like Silverhound, Living Tombstone, Black Griffin,
Blaze.
Alex S.
Aviators.
Oh god,
We
yeah,
had a
Aviators.
lot.
I
we had a
thought
lot
that
of
was so
people.
weird when I found out that they were a Brony band.
Who?
Aviators.
Really?
Yeah, they started out Brony.
No. You didn't know that they started out Brony?
No, I'd never heard of that before.
Heckin' like Friendship and Never Back Down and like their other songs, man, that was my jam back in the day.
I
the
believe
musicians
God
started
Hunter was
out-
the first one I had ever heard from them.
Which one?
God Hunter?
I don't even listen to their modern stuff. I'm sorry. You were saying Equestrian Wastelander.
So they started out like as small time individuals who were just getting into music, and through the fandom, they were able to actually progress and expand their talent and show other people, get further input, do collaborations with each other, and just grow as a person to where, like like for instance, I would say Gabriel Brown or Black Griffin is probably one of the primary examples of how far you can go, because it started off with just a military brony, it was a military brony who did some covers and songs and started putting their originals, started working with actors and voice actors within the fandom to eventually putting out a lot of huge hits, doing concerts, and eventually getting to America's Got Talent. If I remember correctly, I think
So,
Gabe and his
fact-
brother got to the finals, or almost to the finals.
fun fact with Black Griffin, he's actually been on the show as a singer.
Yes, he's been on the show as a singer. He's been in the CDs
nice.
as a backup vocalist. Particularly, you can hear him. You can hear him particularly in the mashup Winter Wrap Up True Friend song that was officially released. Also, of course, he ended up marrying the voice actress for Sweetie Belle.
That's
if
awesome.
If that isn't like rising through the ranks in some way, I don't know what is. Like go from like a military brony, like mildly, just into this weird pony show to marrying one of the voice actresses is quite a leap.
That's fantastic. I love that.
This is a bit of a tangent. I'm still kind of upset he's no longer the singing voice for Alistair. Because they
Oh yeah, that sucked.
they swapped him out for a professional Broadway actor.
Professional.
He is pretty professional, though.
Yeah, but there's
He-
a difference between a Broadway actor and a vote. Like, I could see why, but yeah.
I could see why as well, but at the same time, it was just kind of a bummer. He will always be the Alistair singing voice, in my opinion. New guy does do a really good job, though. Can I just note though? Can I just note though? Like, I don't know if I have the same. If I'm just like alone here, but I'm pretty sure there was a sentiment back like when in 2017 or 2018 when like people like TLT and heckin' Silverhound and all the big names started dropping off, and like they just stopped making pony content. Not like they were just branching out to other stuff, but like they just completely stopped making pony content. Silverhound made something in 2019.
Okay, well, forget that I mentioned them. I'm like just the big names, and I remember there was like quite a lot of resentment that was going around because of that.
Black Griffin was doing concerts up as recently as like 2022 or 3. No,
yeah,
2.
he was at the HarmonyCon. What was it? Not this year's HarmonyCon, but the one before.
I think one of the big ones is really just TLT that I've heard a lot of people are kind of resentful towards because he kind of left and kind of chased fandoms until he just stopped. From what I've heard.
My understanding is he originally, like when he left, he started doing just like video game type stuff for the most part.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking because like I just remember that there was resentment floating around because of that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of. So I've had some opportunity to talk to various bronies from different eras of the fandom, and there's a lot of like cult-like mentality that has happened from some of the older bronies where it's like if you leave the fandom to go do other things, even if you're still part of the fandom, then you're betraying the fandom or some stupid bullshit like that.
I've heard if you leave the if you abandon pony, then you're betraying the fandom. But if like you do other stuff, I don't think that's a big deal.
See, I've heard that both can be considered a betrayal of the fandom by some people.
It depends on who you talk to. I know exactly the type of person you're talking about. I lived among them for a year and a half.
It's a weird sentiment that's completely controversial to what the Brony fandom was actually founded upon, of being accepting and just welcoming and say, okay, if you wish to come see this or you enjoy this, yeah, it's completely up to you. Don't worry. And so, like midway the way, if you left, it wasn't too bad. But like recently, I would say the mindset has kind of slightly changed. Not huge change, but slightly.
I would say the mindset's definitely gotten better because we've had an influx of new people.
Yeah,
but I do think that the like you said, the cult-like mentality, that was also just part of the internet back then. If you were in a fandom, that was your people, right? That I mean, you don't betray your people and leave like that. That's like leaving your super close family or whatever that's not abusive towards you. And so so like especially on 4chan because they're the outcasts of the outcasts over there. Like the MLP people are the outcasts of the 4chan outcasts, and to leave that is leaving, a type of bond. So it's, yeah, it makes sense. Doesn't mean it's right. It makes sense to me though.
God forbid you have other interests at heart.
I think it also depends on how popular you are too, though, because like I could see why people would feel betrayed by the likes of say TLT leaving or like how Mondo Pony like deleted everything and tried to swear off the fandom.
Now that is stuff that I hate. I hate it when people delete stuff. That
Me
is,
too.
what duo cartoonist leaves the fandom. Okay, and I just want to note this, because I know someone who worked for Duo Cartoonist, like made one of their the Discord ballot. I forgot what it was, but and like that person that was literally working like so close to the people with Duo Cartoonist, they found out that Duo had deleted all their stuff and was leaving from the Equestrian Daily Post. Duo Cartoons didn't even go and talk to the dude. Like, they just left and deleted everything. Why? Because something working for Disney and they didn't want to leave their pony stuff there, as if their pony stuff was bad. Like, I hate that.
I mean, there's some cases too where they get embroiled in controversy and decide that the best course of action is delete everything they've ever made. I've had that happen with stuff that I helped with on channels before, and they're just like, basically, they told me it was going to happen, and I was like, I would like it at least to have my stuff that I made with you, and I basically got a no, or it's on the deleted pony archives.
Thank God for the Pony Archive, though. Seriously.
Oh yes.
Yeah, those dudes, I don't know how they do it, but they rip entire channels worth of stuff and have it up there for like everybody to be able to find.
Nameless. I gave you a guide on how to do that in the archive chat.
Yeah, but like, how do you know which ones are going to be deleted?
You don't. They archive the entire channel. Like before it gets deleted, and then it's just there.
So do they just have every pony YouTuber's channel archived?
Basically.
God damn.
Yeah. It's a big project.
That sounds like
Yeah,
a big
I've tried to do something
undertaking.
similar, but it takes so much time and effort just to try to catalog or download or keep
wonder
things
if-
from like various people, and not just even the animators and the musicians. You start to think about trying to keep all the art, all the fan fictions,
If
and
they
stuff like that.
if they've got like if they've got like an archive of my shit, that's many thousands of hours at that point.
Now, granted, they don't like. It's not like a continuous updated thing. Like they'll go and they'll crawl over it every once in a while, basically. But like you were talking about like archiving the art. That's why like people got so pissed when Derpy Buru. And y'all may not know about this, but there was a time when when the drama with Derpy Buru, and it started with them like deleting stuff and. Like, because Derpy Brew is both a social art site, but also kind of an archive site, like basically everything that isn't illegal is allowed on that site. Even the worst of the worst, you just, filter it and download it, right? But it's still there for those who want it there. And when they put those rules in, there's a big scare that there's a lot of stuff that's going to get deleted. And a lot of stuff did get deleted. And... like now that's like splintered into several different clone sites, but yeah, like Derpy Buru and Twy Buru and Poner Pix and Main Buru and all that type of stuff. They are the big art archive sites.
I wonder if there's a version, because I know film fiction exists, but like I wonder if there's a version for writers as well. Because there's got to be at least a few of us that have decided that they're done with
If
Pony
you look
for
hard
whatever
enough,
reason.
you can find fanfiction.com, but you got to do some digging on that place.
There is a site called FimFetch.net, where now, granted, I don't know how extensive their catalog is, but like if you search for stuff on there, you will find stuff that was deleted from FimFiction on there. But like I said, I don't know how like extensive their catalog is. There's also, funnily enough, y'all probably don't know about this, but like over on 4chan, doing storytelling through green text is like a really big thing, and so usually all that stuff is because threads do not last forever; they do get deleted. That stuff is generally archived through what is it? Oh, I forgot the name of it, like Note Paste or something. I don't even remember. Or Pastebook. I don't know. But that site ended up like using an AI algorithm to start deleting stuff, which of course it deleted all the wrong stuff, and so big archive movements were made for that. Now you have pwnpaste.org that has a lot of the green fanfics on there. So definitely archival is becoming a thing. On the note of archival though, if you find something that you like, archive it. Because the chances of you running into it again are pretty much slim to none. Whether it be memes or art or videos or whatever, archive it immediately.
Yeah, and there's also the chance that, YouTube will strike.
Oh, absolutely. YouTube's another whole other can of
It's already
worms.
started.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna note, I'm sorry, but like, places like Derpy Brew and FimFiction and even like bigger sites like YouTube, they're not gonna be around forever. Unless they keep earning money, they're not gonna be around forever because that shit costs money to run.
I mean, even now, though, I'm sure that BlueBolt can back me up on this. It's very difficult with some pony content to even keep it like up or make it to where it's worth posting for like a financial standpoint for the creator. Because like for kids, like Barry's content, like the YouTube for kids stuff.
Oh God, I hate that so
any of
much.
y'all come up, and next time any of y'all like, have something like that happen to you, I highly recommend talking to Minty Root or Scooter Tricks because both of them have kind of devised multiple ways to get around that actually work.
Scooter Tricks, well, honestly, based off of like talking to him, he'll probably just send you to Little Shy at that point.
No. Like he actually, he has a document on how to
does he?
submit an appeal that actually works. Yeah.
That's helpful for sure.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that I've seen that gets marked for kids, or and I get hit with the not appropriate for advertisement, which will also start to strangle the reach of something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I still laugh at when they mark Smile HD for kids and Happy Tree
Oh
Friends for kids.
my god,
That's horrible.
That was hilarious.
That's the issue with automated systems.
Dude,
well, I don't even know how the
gotta-
system got bad enough to that
I've got to wonder, like, what did they even like? Was it because it was just tagged with MLP, or did they do like some type of AI identification system, or what? Because like
it was a cartoon. It looked like a cartoon for kids at in the original opening up till
well, it has to be like an AI because you're not going to have real people.
It is AI. It's completely AI.
Yeah.
With all the videos they got to mark and look through, it is completely AI. Especially when you respond to them or talk to them, say, "Hey, this is not for kids" or stuff like that. Most of the time, you get shot down because like, we decided it's for kids, but they don't go into full details as to why. So it's completely AI. I fully believe it's AI.
The funny thing is, with mine, I get marked as not safe for advertisement quite frequently, especially my D&D campaigns. But all I have to do is like do the repeal once, and I almost always, like with the exception of like 2 or 3 videos, have reinstated the advertisements. Although I don't know if that hurts my revenue or not, but
we're really far off about like FIM and the fandom.
We are talking about the fandom.
That is true.
And if I'm being entirely honest, this is kind of where it was going to end up regardless. But I do think this is a good point to turn to audience questions.
What?
All right.
Which so far we only have one. So those of you in the audience, if you have a question for anybody here regarding the topic, feel free to post those. We will we have enough time. We should be able to get to any questions asked at this point. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and start with Zen Kobayashi asks, how did the MLP fandom affect your inspirations and or personal projects?
Mhm.
So,
Who wants
Good
to
question.
start with that?
That's a deep one. I like that.
who?
Nameless, I'm gonna throw you under the bus. You're starting.
No, I go last. BlueBolt gets to go first.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I can speak on this one a little bit because I did recently do. I wouldn't call it a huge project, but it was focused on mental health, and the fandom is part of that, and how it has helped various creators and whatnot. So I guess in that sense, sorry, what was the original question?
How has Pony inspired your stuff, essentially? Exact wording was, how did the MLP fandom affect your inspirations in personal projects?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's helped me a lot in doing things I wouldn't do otherwise. Like, if you're to tell me, 3 years ago, would I be on a podcast right now? I would probably laugh in your face. And,
Same here.
and I guess just collaborating with people, talking to people I wouldn't otherwise, it's influenced me to do things that are completely out of my comfort zone and push me to do things that help me better myself, I would say. And for that, I'm always going to be grateful for what the fandom has done to me in a sense, and the show as a large. I guess hopefully that kind of answers the question, but yeah.
Wastelander.
So I think I may have gone over this in a previous podcast, but it holds the same value. So it's like a slight, small little story where I didn't really think much of the fandom at the time. I watched the show, but I didn't really think much of the fandom. However, it wasn't until I went to a cosplay party at a Peter Parker Pizza, I think it was. Met this one girl who was doing a Pinkie Pie Gala cosplay, and it was just like a regular cosplay meetup. And she asked if I could be her Applejack. I was like, sure. The cereal box character. She's like, no. She explained to me what it was, and I'm like, okay, I'll give it some time and I'll look at more, because I've seen the show, but I wasn't thinking it was that Applejack. Over time, as I started doing the cosplay for Applejack at this convention, it wasn't until I was walking out towards my hotel and this little voice came behind me. I just heard this little, it's Applejack. And I turn around and see this little girl. And she's just like super excited. And her mom's like, she absolutely loves, and I love Pony and Applejack. I was like, aw. And she's wanted, the little girl just want to get some pictures and just have get some high fives and talk. I was like, oh, this is so perfect. Like, I've cosplayed for years. I've never had that much interaction or that much heartwarming interaction. And from there, I got to start doing more of the cosplays and seeing more of the fandom, and the people started to, really grow on me. I felt like it was a more welcome community compared to the anime community, where that's a whole different subject. But I felt more welcome in this one. And then as I started getting more into the show and going into like not purely analyzing, but seeing the characters, the ideals of friendship, the innocence that was lost, the innocence that was lost. It started wanting me to create more for the community, like the fan fiction I'm working on for the Fallout one, or other stories, as well as doing panels. And kind of like why, well, I didn't mention this in the intro because I messed up what I was doing for that. But like why I'm starting to come as a community guest is to help the fandom and be there for them, like social wise, um, personal wise, emotional wise, guidance, advisory, just to help them as they helped me, or make them feel as welcome as they made me feel welcome. So my content's more of like in-personal panels at conventions, interactions, and that little girl kind of like just helped me to want to give back to the community big time.
Okay. Venture.
I definitely say that the fandom shaped because I got into this even though I've only been in this fandom since 2021. As early back as 2014, I watched a few Brony creations and I enjoyed them a fair bit. I knew what Cupcakes was because it was that infamous. But even as I got into the fandom, I mean, I watched the show, but even to this day, I think I consume more pony fan made stuff than official stuff nowadays. Now, considering the Red G5 is gone, maybe I should have expected that. But honestly, I think it's shaped me in my to the point where I've enjoyed a lot of fan stuff better than official stuff. And the major project I'm working right now is based on a fan made MLP mod for Equestria for Hearts of Iron 4 called Equestria War. So I definitely say it's definitely influenced me. I'm aware of the bad actors in the fandom, but I think this has positively influenced me in a big way as well.
Okay. And Saf.
Speaking of bad actors, sorry, that sounds a lot worse. Speaking of bad actors, there were actually bad actors in the fandom that actually inspired me to do better. Like creating the game project that I've created or am creating. But on a more personal level, though, like just say Minty Root, for example. Man, I'm inspired by Minty Root's 2D, 3D stuff. I do that too now. Or like Argadamon's there's a lot of SFM creators that do like epic fight stuff. And writing stuff for that, wanting to make stuff like that, not exactly skilled enough to. It like the fandom itself has definitely influenced that. Certainly influenced me into wanting to make music and continuing making music instead of just giving up. And really, even just being around the creative people in the fandom is inspiring, especially when they're close friends, because now it doesn't seem so distant and far away, like an unobtainable goal. Things like the Creator Hub are very very good for the inspirations, because now I see everyone else doing the cool stuff. I want to do cool stuff too. I want to finally actually make those imaginations and dreams that I've had for a long time, and I am. So yeah.
Okay. I believe that is everybody except me. So, as far as me, like I've said already, I joined the fandom fairly recently compared to some of the people here. And because of that, I got to see this whole show all at once. I saw the show, the movies, all that all at once. And so the coolness factor of the show kind of wore off fairly quickly for me, and I kind of looked around, reevaluated, realized that I wasn't sticking around because the show was cool. Because it was still a good show and everything, but I'd seen it. It's over. Why was I still here? And then it was really when I was a community guest that it dawned on me I wasn't here for the show anymore. I was here for the fandom. So that's why now you see me doing an Alicorn Discusses and Creator Roundup, especially Creator Roundup, because it gives the opportunity for newer creators to get their names out there, to be able to show that hey, I'm here. Because I have one of the fandoms would be considered a fandom-sized, medium-sized audience. Not quite large yet, but we're getting there. Not to mention that I also have people that watch me on Twitch, so it gives the opportunity for me to give back to the fandom what it gave to me. Because if it weren't for the fandom, if somebody told me that I'd be a community guest at a convention, I'd be able to meet people that were like voice actors or musicians or whatnot for either the fandom or actually the show itself, that I'd be hosting podcasts, streaming games, making D&D YouTube videos, or pony theory videos, or any of that stuff. If you told me that like 5-10 years ago, I would have laughed in your face, just like everybody else here. Fanfic writing, all of that good stuff. So, like, the reason that I do these podcasts now is to give back to the community that gave me the opportunities and the friendships and the people that have helped me along the way, so that way all of the community they get to see the light of day from underneath the algorithm that buries them. People like BlueBolt, who start recently on YouTube, probably struggling to find their footing to gain some traction. Now you guys know who he is, so go check out his links. Go subscribe to the channels of those who provided them, because that's why I do this now. I like being able to help other creators. It's also why I created the Creator Hub with Doc Anubis, so that other creators can find each other and be able to like work together.
Is Doc Anubis even a doctor?
No.
I don't think he is. I could be wrong, but I don't think he is.
They put him and Dr. Wolf in the same room and see what happens.
Neither
Oh
of them are
no,
doctors.
two docs. They'll fight to see who the real doc is.
So he's committing
My money's on
fraud.
Anubis.
Hey, and they're both named after something related to dogs. So one's a wolf, one's based off the god of a wolf or a dog god. So
Jackal.
put them in a room and have them bark at each other.
But yeah, let me see if I had collected anything else for us. Not seeing any more.
If there's not, I like to put something out there.
What you got?
Well, we kind of went over this earlier, but what do you think Hasbro thinks of the Brony fandom? Do you think they like them, or do they really tolerate them, or do you think they despise us?
Are we talking the people that make the show, like the writers, the animators?
That's DHX. That's not Hasbro.
Well, I'm either way. I'm asking this question. Are we talking the people that are ground level, or are we talking executives?
I'm kind of both, because I think the studio probably likes the fandom. Executives, I don't know.
Executives hate us.
Of course they do. They hate everything.
It's kind of like a love-hate relationship. They acknowledge that if it wasn't for like the Bronies, their show may not have gained as much traction. But at the same time, they look at it as just like, why you? Why did it have to be you?
I think it's more accurate to say that they like our wallets, but they also
I was just about to say they like our money.
They don't.
Of course, they like our money.
They don't really understand what it takes to keep our attention and to like actually keep us around, because they want our money, but they don't want our opinions.
They also are threatened by us because no, I'm serious because
I actually agree with Seth
with the TRY thing. You know, the amount of NSFW stuff for the pony fandom. Like, now granted, there's like a bunch of NSFW stuff for a lot of things, and the fandom is huge, so of course there's going to be a lot of NSFW stuff for it. But like the amount of it is like jaw-dropping, and it all it will take is a few parents seeing this and thinking that it's official Hasbro stuff and throwing a hissy fit. That could easily destroy Hasbro's reputation, because like the whole point of their company is to sell toys. Like the point is not to make D&D, the point is not to make cool shows, the point is to sell toys. That's their goal.
Not even necessarily toys.
Well, if they can't convince the parents that their thing is safe to buy for their kids, because like imagine what a parent will think if they see a news article or a newsreel on like Fox or CNN or whatever that talks about My Little Pony fandom is disgusting and full of pedophiles and perverts, right? And like they're gonna want to keep their kids away from My Little Pony stuff.
See,
they don't want them getting hurt by that.
I think you went a different direction than I was thinking, because they've already tried that and it didn't hurt Hasbro as much as you'd think. Because that's, as somebody who recently joined the fandom, part of the reason why I didn't was because of that perception that that is what the Brony fandom was full of.
Well, there's a
difference
between a caring parent looking at that, but
there was plenty of caring parents looking at that. And I also remember the first time that I told my family, I showed my brother art of my OC, told him that I was a Brony, and he asked my mom if I was a pedo. So it's very much a huge part of the public perception, but I think they also realized just enough to be able to separate us from Hasbro. So that's not what I think they find threatening from us. I think it's the fact that we can produce, our creators can produce quality stuff at a higher rate than they can, and a lot of fans have stopped buying official Hasbro merch. Why buy a shitty Hasbro plushie when you can go spend a little bit more and get an almost one-for-one replica plushie of your favorite character or your OC? Why spend the money to like buy official anything when all it takes is finding a fandom artist and you can get something 10 times better?
Just to poke a little hole in that, just for some thought. There are a lot of fandom like merch makers, right? Hasbro's completely within their right to shut those people down. Why?
And they do for quite a few of them. They're just not as aggressive. They're not nearly as aggressive as Disney and Nintendo. Disney and Nintendo will literally go and send people to conventions looking for things that they can cease and desist. Hasbro doesn't do that.
If I remember correctly, Hasbro's kind of not doing too well financially anyway, so it makes
because they keep trying to tank all of their brands. Magic the Gathering has been trying to do the Fortnite thing of collabing with literally every available IP, and their people aren't happy about it. D&D has hit yet another controversy with AI, and their shit's tanking too. Star Wars is not as popular as it used to be because Hasbro makes a lot of the Star Wars toys.
Well, some of that was outside of Hasbro's control on that one.
Yes, but they're going to feel the backlash of it because
Transformers is not as popular anymore.
Yeah,
and of course they screwed up My Little Pony, so
they barely sell anything for My Little Pony.
They do. It's garbage.
I mean, if you go look in a Target or a Walmart or any major store, you have to hunt for any pony merch.
Oh, yeah, I know. I remember the days. I remember the days you didn't have to hunt for merch. There were days when there was like an entire section of a Target that had Target exclusive My Little Pony stuff. I bought some of that stuff. My sister has that now, but like I bought a lot of that stuff, And man, I went over there and it's just all Monster High stuff.
Yeah,
And
a friend of mine
even-
used to work at Target, and he said the MLP G5 stuff didn't really sell that well. The only stuff that really sold well was a bit of the Opaline stuff, and that was it.
Interesting.
But like all of their IPs are starting to fall off, and they're getting embroiled in more and more controversies with their adult audience from Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. Their company, I would not be surprised if in the next 10 to 20 years if it ended up tanking because of the poor executive decisions being made.
MLP goes independent. That'd be nice to see.
That's not how that would work. It would get bought out, and then we would have no idea what would go on with like the copyright stuff.
Copyright limbo.
That doesn't like that. It's a fucking nightmare. Like, trust me, it's such a big nightmare. I hate copyright law.
But yeah.
And it's complicated. No one wants to deal with it because if you try to amend it, there's a chance you could screw it up as well and make things worse.
Technically. Well, the thing is that copyright law doesn't like allow for like the whole idea of how ideas and original ideas work, which is nothing is original. Everything is inspired by everything else, right? It's just you just don't know that it is. Like, technically, all fan fiction is a violation of copyright. The nice thing about copyright, though, is that it's just the right to copy, so you can choose to enforce it or not to enforce it. It's just the people who have chosen to enforce it have been big bullies about it.
The ones that have chosen to enforce it too, some of them are starting to hurt because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know Nintendo has been getting hit with a lot of backlash for emulation and their stance on emulation.
By the way, no, this is off topic, but no matter how much Nintendo hits at emulation, it's not going to stop it.
It's an archivist thing, too. You're not going to stop the archivers.
You're not. I don't care what ridiculous punishments you give people, it's not going to stop it.
I mean, I have copies of Super Mario Bros. And Super Metroid on my computer right now. What are they going to do?
I
They're
mean,
going
I,
to send goons to your house.
I have
please send guns to my house. I'll keep them for myself.
Hasbro did that.
Pinkertons.
Goons.
Oh, I thought you said guns. I was like, oh yeah, send me more guns. I'll use them against Nintendo.
Yeah, that the Magic the Gathering sending the Pinkertons after somebody was like a huge misstep.
Yeah, it was both. Yeah, the Pinkertons don't really have a good reputation now anyway.
Which is why it's also a good thing that we are starting to evolve past the need of Hasbro's properties, where we're creating our own stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, like I said, it's not going to be too much longer before something happens and they go belly up.
Yeah.
Either get bought out or just completely tank. Because they keep making bad decision after bad decision. WotC's not looking so great. Neither is Hasbro as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this will be a good point to call it for tonight. For those of you that may or may not still be watching, if you enjoyed that and would like to see more of it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, follow on Twitch, all that good stuff. If you want to show support to the creators here, I have their links in the description. If you want to show further support to my channel, then check out the Patreon and the Discord. The Discord is free to enter, so if you would like to be able to chat with some of the people that have been on the podcast, myself, the players of my campaigns, all those good people, as well as the community members of just like my general community, check that out. Big thank you to my priest tier Patreons, Cameo Shadowness, Scarmix, and Ice Crystal for their continued support. Could not continue doing this without all of y'all. I'm also going to be doing a subathon tier like reward thing tomorrow. So if you guys have fanfics you would like to submit for me to judge, that is what we are doing. And and I will probably be reading most of those, at least in part, out loud, at the very least in part. But be sure to tune in on Twitch for that. And if you happen to have a free Amazon Prime sub, I would appreciate the subs. Other than that, everybody have a great evening. We will see you Sunday for the Heart of Darkness campaign, and don't forget to drink water.